Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to talk about Johann Sebastian Bach's French Suite Number 6. My presentation will divide into 4 parts, include the introduction of keyboard suites, J.S. Bach's background of the 3 sets of suites, pedaling in J.S. Bach's French suites, and the last one, French Suite Number 6, BWV 817E, E major. I would like to introduce the keyboard suites in the very beginning. The roots of the stylized keyboard suites date back to the 16th century. Since its inception and full acceptance as a viable medium for presenting keyboard music to the public in the middle 17th century. The keyboard suite has been a highly respected artistic genre for composers of Western art music. Especially important to keyboard suite development were the innovations of the highly influential Italian composer who called Girolamo Frescobaldi, who was the teacher of Johann Jacob Froberger, the first major contributor to the keyboard suite in Germany. Keyboard suites were also composed by European masters such as Henry Purcell, Francois Couperin, Johann Sebastian Bach, George Handel, and many others. The origins of the keyboard suite and its primary characteristics include the suite as a French term meaning together. The suite first entered musical terminology in 1557 as a designation for a group of brainless and continued with the meaning until such groups ceased to be danced. The branlet, a rusted round dance of French origin, was at one time carried out to the singing of dancers. Another important developmental step for the suite genre was suggested by an Englishman called Thomas Mace, who was the first writer to describe the suite as a compound musical form with a conventional order of piece. According to Mace, it consists of an improvised prelude followed by an element, arie, courant, saraband, and all what you please, all linked by a common tonic and some kind of resemblance in conceits, natures, or humors. The classical suite, as mentioned in the introduction, is based on a fixed core of dance developed during the Baroque era. It's here understood to consist of the following sequence: element, courant, and saraband, with or without a jig. Duplication of this dance, the addition of doubles, the incorporation of other pieces among the basic 3 or 4 dance, and the present of introduction movements do not affect the classical status of a suite, so long as the basic condition is met that the suite should be of reasonable length for playing in a single sitting. In contrast to the classical suite, there is a considerable amount of speculation about the principles of ordering the dance based on fixed ideas regarding their characteristics, which in fact changed greatly during the course of the 17th century. For example, the saraband is sometimes fast and sometimes slow, and it's oftentimes not possible to tell from appearance what the speed is supposed to be. Unlike the sonata, a suite typically consists of individual pieces whose character and identity derives partly from outside sources. Oftentimes, the pieces are based on the pre-existing forms and styles of dances, but they may also have programmatic associations indicated by titles. In the late Baroque period, when the interaction between sonata and suite was rather complex, tonality became a useful test of whether a piece should be called a sonata or the suite. And this was recognized as also by 18th century theoreticians. The principle that all the pieces of a suite are in the same key became a part of dictionary definitions up to the present. In turn, a plausible but unfounded rationale for key unity was set forth. It was said that suites didn't change key because of the difficulty of retuning one's lute between the performance of various dances within one suite or set of pieces. Regarding the classical suite, I would like to talk about each dance by order. The first one, which is Allemande. The Allemande was one of the most popular Baroque instrumental dances and became a standard movement of the suite, along with the courantet, sarabande, and jig. The word itself comes from the French word for Germany. The origins of the Allemande are at best obscure. Possibly the dance began as a French or German variant of the bass dance. The earliest known literary use of the title Allemande took place in a short dancing manual devoted to the bass dance published in London in 1521. As the instrumental element took on definitive traits and characteristics in the 16th century, it developed into a dance that is written in duple meter with no syncopation, that consists of two repeat strings, each of which is in turn made of repeated motifs, and that has a homophonic texture. Often, the middle section of an element stresses the area of half cadence. Although emphasis on the subdominant and minor supertonic, as well as on the relative major, is also very common. In terms of courant, the origins of the courant are also rather obscure, as only a few examples from the 16th century exist. The word itself comes from the root meaning flowing or running. During the early 17th century, it was a popular dance in both France and Italy. By the end of the century, there were two distinct types of courant. The Italian one called courante and the French one is courant. The courante is a fast triple meter dance in 3/4 or 3/8, typically in binary form with a relatively homophonic texture, balanced phrase, which also performance style and a clear harmonic and rhythmic structure. The French courant is a majestic and grave triple meter dance, oftentimes in 3/2, characterized by rhythmic ambiguity, frequent use of modal harmonions and melodies, and a contrapuntal texture. About the sarabande. The sarabande was one of the most popular Baroque instrumental dances and a standard movement of the suite as well. It originated during the 16th century as a dance in Latin America that was later transported to Spain. Many French and German sarabands of the mid and late Baroque appeared as one of the dances in suites for keyboard. They usually are characterized by an intense and serious nature, though a few are tender and gracious and are set in slow triple meters with a strong sense of balance based on four-bar phrase. A binary form is most common, though variations in roundel form may also be found, often with augmented reprise or doubles. Jig, like the saraband, was one of the most popular Baroque instrumental dance and became a standard movement of the suite, along with the element courant and saraband. It apparently originated in the British Isles, where dances and tunes called jig, J-I-G, have been known since the 15th century. Although many 17th century jigs were notated in simple duple meter, most are in some kind of compound meter, and most are in binary form. During the 17th century, distinct French and Italian styles emerged. The French jig was written in a moderate or fast tempo with irregular phrase lengths and an imitative contrapuntal texture in which the opening motif of the second section was often an inversion of the first section's opening. The earliest appearance of the term jig in Germany was as the title of a variation in Wolfgang Ebner's Aria Modis Variata, but the real popularity of the form seems to date from its introduction by Froberger as a standard movement in his keyboard suite. French composers of the first half of the 18th century also include the jig, particularly in keyboard and small ensemble suites. Many works by Couperin and Rameau, for example, include jigs written in the tradition of Dagobert. However, some of them show influence from the Italian giga style. Bach's jigs in the Italian style fall into two metric categories. One has ternary groupings on the lowest level of rhythm, such as those of or in English suites, the French suite number 5 and the keyboard partitas number 1, 3, 4, and 6. A second kind has a duple level of rhythm below the ternary groupings, often with harmonic changes within the ternary figures and few internal cadence, as in the French suite number 1, number 3, number 4, and number 6. Let me describe J.S. Bach's background of the three sets of suites. The music of J.S. Bach is a combination of the Baroque period. Bach lived at a time when contrapuntal style was beginning to merge with homophonic style. Although keyboard and concert solo chorale media occupied Bach throughout his life, the nature of these compositional productions was influenced by the positions he held during his life. The French suite, English suite, and partita were all written in the 1720s. Each set contains 6 suites. The French and English suites were composed at Cothen. Some of the French suites appear in the Clavier Buchlein for Bach's second wife Anna, which Bach compiled in 1722. All 3 sets of suites use the dance sequence that had become standard by the time of Bach, which is element, courant, saraband, and jig. Yes. And the French suites lack an introductory of movement, and in general are easier and less elaborate than the other set of suites. The optional dance are placed between the saraband and jig. Bach actually didn't call this French suite. That its name that come to be used after his death. Although many of the dances of the suite were popularized in France, the dances themselves came from different parts of Europe, so the suites are not particularly French in style. Um, the English suites each open with a prelude. According to Charles Rosen, the development of the opening movements of both the English suite and the partitas are Bach's most original contribution to the keyboard suite. In the English suite, a single pair of optional dance is placed between each saraband and jig. The partitas shows the greatest variety of organization and of style. The opening preludes of the English suite are transformed and expanded in the partitas. Only one or two optional dances are used, and Bach substituted the capriccio for the jig in number 2 of partita. Let me talk about the pedaling in jazz Bach's French suite. Louis Kantner has made the following statement concerning the use of pedal in Bach's works. If we can consider Bach's music as abstract and then separated from the medium originally intended, it can be performed on the piano, using taste and a sense of style, using the resources of the instrument. I think the resources include the tone color, partially achieved by application of the damper pedal, which affects the tone, enriching it by augmenting its overtones. Aside from obvious differences in methods of tone production between the piano and the harpsichord or the clavichord, the most striking difference lies in one's being able to sustain tone using the pedal of the piano, thus augmenting the tone color. In contrapuntal sections, clarity of each voice is very necessary so that the rhythmic as well as the melodic relationships are heard. In addition, the articulation of each voice must be made clear. Using pedals throughout is inappropriate, but it may be employed in certain situations within contrapuntal sections. I would like to show some examples. The first one, such as to enrich the chords at the cadence, so we can connect the repeat. We can use of the delayed pedal. And if we would like to connect the repeat notes, and we can use the pedal after first note is played and release of pedal when second note sounds. And if we want to connect white leaves, use of pedal after first note is played and release of pedal when skip is completed. This type of pedaling may also be applied in the homophonic sections, for homophony allows the use of pedal more often. In using the pedal, the tone color is richer because the freely ringing strings set up sympathetic vibrations in other strings, bringing the overtone into play. One must be very careful to make clean pedal changes. Using the pedal sparingly and not to overpedal at any time, or the line and the harmonies will be lost in the process. Let's move to the French suite number 6 in E major. I would like to talk about the the first dance in this suite, which is element. Traditionally, the first dance in element is the first dance in a Baroque suite in moderate 4/4 meter with short upbeat, often use brief running figures which pass through each voice. Bach's example here is in gentle, constantly moving 16 notes that weave in and out of the part. It's a binary form, and first part is in tonic and second is in dominant. I would like to play it. Second one, courant. There is two type courants, which I mentioned before. The first one is Italian courante, and another one is French courant. Italian courante in quick triple meters with upbeat uses continuous running figures. French courant usually in moderate 6/4 or 3/2 meter with frequent shifting from 1 meter to the other, result in feeling of instability. Many dotted rhythms use. Texture is contrapuntal with shifting of interest from the upper parts to one of the lower parts. This quintet is an Italian quintet in 3/4 running figuration, less contrapuntal. This saraband is in 3/4 meters, a slow and steadily dance. Second beat is often stressed, begin on downbeat. Gavotte start with an upbeat. Second part is longer than the first section and the subject is developed. It's a light and charming in character. Polonaise is a dance of Polish origin. From scholar Pasnowski's book, he mentioned that while the Polonaise doesn't feature prominently in Bach's instrumental works, elements of the dance appear in a sizable number of his sacred and secular vocal movements. Bach was prompted to incorporate the Polonaise into a work not solely for musical considerations, but above all on account of nexus of literary, cultural, historical, sociological, and theological associations. This Polonaise is in triple time. Start with downbeat. It's a moderate dance. The rhythm gives a stately march-like impression. This minuet is in triple meter 3/4. Minuet is one of most famous French court dances, slower to moderate tempo usually. Ray is another dance of French origin. It's written in two beats to the bar, and it's usually faster and livelier than the gavotte. Begins with an upbeat. It's a joyful dance. For the end of this suite, Bach used the last of the four basic dance, jig. a dance of Irish and English origins. Jig usually have two types, um, which includes the French jig and an Italian giga. French jig usually in compound duple meter, using dotted rhythm, larger intervals, and imitative texture, often with subject inverted in the second section. Italian giga usually is in a quicker tempo, non-imitative, using running passages over harmony. It's a lively dance, and Bach writes it in 68 times. Oh, this one is a French giga, a French jig. I would like to use James Bach's quote to end my presentation. Music is an agreeable harmony for the honor of God and the permissible delight of the soul. Thank you for listening.